This is my Bloodkill Poker Bloodkill Poker podcast. My name came from a pirate name that my son was using to play some pirate game. Part of the pirate game had a poker spot in there, so I was playing with that game too for a little while, and was crushing the play money poker against probably other kids, and so I decided to use that screen name when I went to play my ACR account, and later on decided I want to change it. Now I can't change it, so I'm stuck forever with Bloodkill. Anyway, I got $1.55 my account here. Let's see what I can grow this up to, and show you how I play. Let's see what we can do with $1.55. First off, I'm going to go to the inexpensive tournaments. So we got a 50-cent one. We got some players waiting for this one. Okay, I'm going to play the 50-cent tournaments right now. Let's do that. Find these to be the easiest way to grow a tiny little bankroll like this. Just play these 50-cent tournaments. It's easier for me than cash. Cash, it's just everyone's tight, even at 1 cent, 2 cent, as far as I see it. And this is the cheapest sit and go tournament they have. So I'm gonna play this. It's most of my bankroll, and can also come over here and play some tiny little what do you got? 27-cent one here. Play this one too. So it pays up to $26, so we'll go from $1.50 to 26 right away if this takes off. Okay. 6 levels left. We got 6 levels remaining. 20,000 we started with. Average shoot 5K. We're getting to this a little bit late. It's half the average stack, but whatever. It's only 27 cents, and we still have so 255 cents tournaments to make some money in. We still have 18 cents left over, so we can try to play a little 12-cent tournament too. I have one going. If we get busted out of all 4 of these, there's always the free rolls, or we can rebuy. Let's see what here. We got so 12-cent one going right now. It's 2 hours left in it, so before the item's done, so that one looks, we're getting in towards the beginning of it. What is this? Look how much time there is between picture to act. It's nuts. It's very hard to play just one turn at a time unless you got something else you're doing. You're watching. What's going on there? This thing scrolls 35,000 starting chips, so we're not even that early to it. So the multi-table ones are starting off behind still. Pocket sevens, okay. This is one I don't like to play in early position. I'm just gonna fold it because I find just these little tournaments waiting for good hands and just committing with them works best for me. And these pocket sevens is marginal, it's not a good hand. So it's barely playable. Maybe in late position if you're really deep stacked, maybe. Otherwise I stay away from middle pairs generally. Or unless you're down to, it's the end of the tournament and you gotta make a stand, then you play middle pairs. But this stage of the tournament, I'm not messing around with middle pairs and early position. I'm not messing around with King Jack even on the button here. Not good enough. Well, at least ace high if I'm gonna commit to a pot. We're already at the end of this 55-cent tournament. It's already time to pick a hand and go with it. For me, it's probably going to be a pocket pair or an ace, preferably a decent ace. Let's fold everything else. See if we get a double up. Okay, here we got some chips. So we got bad position. Ace or king comes in the flop. I'm gonna hate it. So I don't know how much I really want to play this post flop. I don't even. I'm just gonna shove all in and pick up here because I don't want to be playing this against two people and ace or king comes out and then well, I just gave those chips away. Just put them to test now. And they folded, which wasn't a big pot, but it's hard to get paid out of position. I'd rather just scoop what I got instead of bluffing into somebody's already got me beat, or overplaying into somebody's already got me beat out of position. Just pick up a little pot right there. And we've still got this one. Just need one more person to come along and we'll have another 50-cent tournament going. Meanwhile, this is going so slow that we're just sitting here. Might as well watch maybe some poker videos in the background. There's this Black Rain guy I like. Hey, my poker stream live. I can see myself right there. So his name is Black Rain Poker. Black Rain. Yeah, 79. Run some of his videos in the background. He gives a lot of good advice for low stakes. I don't know. He's always got something interesting.
Priceline works with top hotels to sell their unsold rooms, saving you up to 60%. Ah, yes, the parental delegation.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Nathan here. Today we're going to talk about something that people tell me all the time. I cannot win at poker. What is going on? Today I'm going to explain to you the top 3 reasons why you are not winning at poker yet and how to fix them in order to start winning big at the poker tables. Let's jump into it. Alright, so reason number 1 why you might not be winning at poker yet is bad calls. Now, you've probably made these before. We all have. I'm not trying to stand on a pedestal here and say, you know, I'm some sort of great poker player and I don't make bad calls. I've made plenty of bad calls, guys. Okay, but let's talk about how to fix this, alright? So the bottom line is you have to fold top pair sometimes. You need to fold an over pair sometimes. What you guys need to understand, especially in small stakes games, is that passive players, which is what you're going to face most of the time in low stakes games, they're not folding. So when they start raising you big on what I call the big money streets, which are the turn and river, they often have it. I talk about this in actually all 3 of my poker books, in these videos and on my poker blog. One of the biggest things that separates, the elite winners today from, the mediocre winners and all the people that aren't winning yet at poker is their ability to throw away a hand and to have the discipline to fold when they clearly need to. Now, if you're using a poker HUD, you can simply look for the aggression factor. Like, if they have an aggression factor of 2 or less, believe me, guys, that is somebody who is simply not bluffing you when they raise you. If you want to know more, by the way, about the Poker Tracker HUD that I use, I will have links to that in the description below. But let me give you an example here. You have ace queen offsuit. You raise.
I don't know how much my video is got captured, how much didn't, because it's saying that YouTube is not receiving that video to maintain smooth streaming. Such view. Alright, well I guess it should still be recording on my OBS. So maybe I'll just upload that recording later. I'll leave this, obviously. I did this a year ago and it's been a while now, everything's changed. Alright. So we'll run his stuff in the background because it's interesting for everyone.
Ace it up pre-flop, they called. The board run out is ace of clubs, king of clubs, 10 of hearts, 7 of diamonds, 4 of diamonds. Let's assume that you bet the entire way. You're now on the river and they raise you. Guys, in a situation like this, unless you are up against a total and complete maniac, you absolutely have to be folding here on the river when they raise you. This would definitely be a bad call here. I know that a lot of beginners to poker have a difficult time understanding this. We have top pair after all, but you guys need to understand when they raise you in this situation here, they're showing you tremendous strength. They're screaming from the mountaintops. They have a hand that can beat one pair. Let's talk about all the hands on this board that can beat us. Ace king, ace 10, ace 7, queen jack is the straights. What else do we got here? We got king 10, we got 10-7. There's a whole lot of different opportunities here, guys, for us to be beat. Our hand is certainly not going to be the best in all situations here, and they are absolutely representing something that beats our hand here. So calling on the river here when they raise you would be a bad call. This is when you need to develop the discipline to be able to throw a hand like this away. All right, moving on to number 2 here. Getting too tricky is a big reason why a lot of people don't win at poker. And primarily what I mean by that is slow playing too much. You might have been, you might have seen your favorite player here on YouTube or on TV or Twitch or something, maybe, some sort of high stakes pro getting all tricky and making a lot of, slow playing with their aces or something like that. But what you guys need to understand is that these players are playing in high stakes games against other world-class professionals where those kind of plays will work well. But in the games that most of you guys play in, low stakes, cash games or tournaments, when you try to get tricky with your hands like this, your opponents, it's going to go whoop right over their head and they're just going to check back. They're not going to help you build the pot because they're just passive players. Guys, they're not thinking on any kind of deeper level. And this is why I always talk about in all my books, on my blog, in these videos, is that for most of you guys watching these videos, is that for most of you guys playing at the smaller stakes, the best thing you can do is just play your hand in the most straightforward manner as possible. I know it seems crazy to a lot of people. They want to find some sort of deeper, complex meaning behind this game, but honestly, guys, there isn't. The vast majority of my success in smaller stakes games has simply come from playing my hand in the most obvious way possible and letting them overthink everything. So you have to build the pot in order to win a big pot in small stakes games. Typically, for example, you have pocket kings, board run out is a 5-5-4-10 queen. In a situation like this, guys, you just want to bet, shove. There's nothing else to say here. Flop, you bet. Turn, you bet. River, you bet. Okay, if they raise you, we can look at the player type, we can look at their aggression factor, like we already talked about before, and we can consider making a fold. Now, this hand, I will say this board is a lot different. It's a lot harder for them to have something that beats us on this board. So I'm gonna be a lot less likely to fold my hand in this situation. But the bottom line here, guys, is we don't wanna ever be getting tricky in a spot like this. This hand is simply raise pre-flop, bet the flop, bet.
Curiosity is something we are all born with. It's how we begin to find our place in the world. Head off down that dirt road and just keep going. Peter Millar.
And we're on to kings. We're dead 204. And we got a straight draw. Okay, and we luck out. Suck out, luck out. Pocket fours, cracks, pocket king.
Selling my bicycle locally on Mercari was super easy. I scheduled a pickup time and the driver took care of everything. It was totally hassle-free.
Bet the turn, bet the river. If we're doing anything else we're literally just throwing money away. And one of the biggest reasons why people do not have success in small stakes games is because they try to get tricky in a spot like this. They go for the check on the flop. They go for the check on the turn, and they often end up winning a tiny little pot, whereas somebody like me who just goes bet, bet, shove ends up stacking this player or winning a big pot, and that is the difference, guys. Guys, bottom line, you do not get hands like this very often. Pocket kings, pocket aces, big hands like this, especially on a good board like this. You absolutely have to get the maximum value in a situation like this. Do not get tricky, guys. Do not slow play in a spot like this. And the final reason why perhaps you are not winning at poker yet is probably because you're tilting all your profits away. Now, once again, guys, I'm not saying that I am some sort of, unemotional superhuman or something. I'm not. I've tilted away way more of my profits at the poker tables than I ever want to admit. And I totally recognize that this has been my biggest weakness over the years. And from coaching hundreds of students over the years, I've found that this actually is the #1 reason why people don't win at poker. You can play a technically perfect style of poker. You can be in there making all the right plays, making all the right folds, making all the right value bets like we just talked about. But if the cards start to go against you, you start getting unlucky and you throw your game plan out the window and you start getting all emotional. It doesn't matter how much poker knowledge you have, how much you've studied the game. All of that stuff's not going to mean anything if you go on tilt every single time adversity strikes, you start getting all the bad beats. Guys, you need to understand that poker is a game of mental warfare. That's really kind of the beauty of the game, actually, is that your mood, your mental state is always on display at the poker table. And this is one of the biggest profit sources in today's games, is taking advantage of other players when they are highly emotional. Because people tend to play worse, they tend to make a lot of bad calls, they tend to get too tricky sometimes, they don't raise when they should be, all sorts of stuff like that. And that's why an emotional poker player is a losing poker player. So what do you do to solve this? Well, I've talked about in a lot of the mental game videos on this channel, I've talked about this a lot before, is stuff like taking mini breaks. I've done this a lot throughout my poker career. If you're feeling hot under the collar, if you're frustrated, you've just lost a bunch of pots in a row, just get up for a while. We've all seen Phil Hellmuth. He does this. He's the best ever, actually, at mini breaks, even though he still maybe tilts a little bit too much. You guys, you can just get up from the table. You can go take a walk, take 5-10 minutes, whether you're playing online or live, doesn't matter. You don't need to sit there and play every single hand. Sometimes it's just better to get away for a couple minutes, go talk to yourself, maybe not out in public. People might think you're a little crazy, but if you're in your home playing, online poker, you can certainly just go take some deep breaths, think through the hands, ask yourself, did I play the hand to the best of my ability, and so on. And then you can go sit down 5-10 minutes later. You've settled down emotionally now and you're ready to get in there and try to start winning again, playing your best game. But guys, if you're completely on tilt and you're highly emotional, you're playing poorly, you're making a ton of bad plays at the poker table, the best thing you can possibly do, guys, is to just simply quit for the day. There's almost nothing out there in any poker video, poker training course, poker book that can honestly help you win at poker more than what I just said. Some days, guys, it's just simply not going to be your day at the poker table. And really, the biggest difference between, winning poker players and losing poker players is winning poker players know when to quit. They understand when it's one of those days when they simply cannot win. They're not going to try to shove the square peg through the round hole. It's one of those days. You can't win. And you can sit in there like everyone else, steaming, getting all emotional, throwing away all your profit, or you can make the rational, long-term decision, which is in your best interest, which is to simply get up and say, hey, it wasn't my day. I'll come back tomorrow with a clear head and I'll win. So the bottom line, guys, is don't allow yourself to be in there when you're on tilt. Mic drop, end of video. That is going to help you guys out so much in terms of winning at this game. Like I said, I believe that tilt is the #1 thing that holds a lot of people back in poker. Most people actually play pretty good poker these days, and getting too emotional is the biggest reason why they do not win. So guys, those are my top 3 reasons why perhaps you're not winning at poker yet. But I want to know your thoughts. Let me know what's holding you back in the comments below. And also make sure you're subscribed to the channel here if you want to see more poker videos just like this, and also shove all in on that like button below if you found this video helpful. Lastly, if you want to grab a copy of my free poker cheat sheet, I would highly recommend it. It'll be the top link in the description below. And finally, I'll leave another video up here that I made just recently that I think will help you guys out some more. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. This has been Nathan Williams with BlackRain79.com.
Yeah, it's probably black green better, but I'm doing this for my own reasons.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Nathan here. Today we're going to talk about more poker videos just like this, and also shove all in on that like button below if you found this video helpful. Lastly, if you want to grab a copy of my free poker cheat sheet, I would highly recommend it. It'll be the top link in the description below. And finally, I'll leave another video up here that I made just recently that I think will help you guys out some more. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. This has been Nathan Williams with BlackRain79.com.
I was already next up. I didn't have to press anything.
What if you could control the web with your mind? What if telekinesis?
What's up, guys? Nathan here, and today I want to talk about why you get so many bad beats in poker. People are asking me about this all the time, and more importantly, how to fix it. So make sure you stick around till the end, because I'm going to give you a simple fix to try to end this problem once and for all. All right, but let's jump into it first. Why do you get so many bad beats in poker? Well, it's actually pretty simple. The reason why you get so many bad beats at the poker table is because you're playing in good games. Now, what do I mean by good games? I mean games that are full of a lot of amateur poker players who play a lot of bad hands, who chase every draw, who call you down with bottom pair. You know what I'm talking about. There's no doubt that you've encountered poker players like this many times, and the simple fact is when they're in there with all of these bad hands, chasing all of these bad draws, they're eventually going to hit it. It's just simple math. You know, even if you've got pocket aces and they hit their bottom pair with a 10-2 offsuit or something like that, even if they call you the whole way, they've still got 15% chance or so to hit their other 10 or their other 2 on the rivers. So we all know this is going to happen sometime. You know, it's not a shocker when a 15% chance comes through, and this is something that we need to understand about the game of poker, is that people almost always have a chance to win. There's almost never a time in poker when you have somebody what we call drawing dead, which means that they have zero statistical chance to win the pot. This is actually the beautiful thing about poker, is that anybody can win. You know, you could sit down and you can play against Daniel Negreanu or Phil Ivey, and you could actually just go all in pre-flop every single hand, and you will still have equity against, you know, some of the best poker players in the world, because that's how the game is set up. It's set up that way so that bad players, I often talk about throwing them a bone, you know, giving them something to celebrate about, to get happy about sometimes. This is why the game is so profitable. This is why they keep coming back for more. You know, you compare poker to a game like chess, for example, which has absolutely no element of luck in the short run or long run. Amateurs are not going to keep coming back again and again because they're just going to lose to a higher ranked player. The difference with poker, of course, is there is a large element of short-term luck, which allows the bad players to get lucky sometimes, to give you what we refer to as a bad beat, and ultimately keep them in the game, keep them bringing more money into the industry, and making sure that this game stays profitable. Now, how do you stop bad beats from happening? Well, there's one simple way to stop bad beats from happening, and that's to go play in poker games full of world-class professionals versus people who never make large mistakes, versus people who only play good hands pre-flop, who, you know, never chase a bad draw after the flop, or highly disciplined, good poker players. Now, you might have noticed that I'm speaking a little bit tongue-in-cheek here, because there's one simple problem with this. We don't make money in games versus other really strong poker players. In fact, if making money in poker is a goal of yours, those should be the last games that you want to play in. But a lot of poker players have this kind of myth in their head. I've heard this and seen this many times before, that if I just jump up to the higher stakes games where they respect my raises and I play against, you know, players who aren't wild and unpredictable, then all of a sudden I'm going to start making big profits in poker. And guys need to understand that's just not true on any level at all. While I know it can be incredibly frustrating in the moments to play against these quote unquote wild and unpredictable players that give you so many bad beats, this is in fact why the game is so profitable. And it's really because, as I mentioned before, you know, yeah, they do have some equity in the pot. They've got their 15%, their 20%, but that means you've got 85% or 80% equity to win the pot. And we all know simple math that who's going to win most of the time, right? Whereas if you play against really strong players, you're just simply not going to get an edge like this. And this is why your odds of actually winning in those games, unless you happen to be a world-class professional yourself, you know, are very low. So this is really why one of the biggest things you need to do if you want to have long-term success in poker is really almost make peace with bad beats, or at least try to. At least accept why they occur on a deeper level in this game, and really do what I talk about is knowing what you signed up for even before you sit down to play poker. You know, I do a lot of sort of visualization and meditation practices both before and after sessions. I've worked with my clients in the past as well, teaching them how to do this kind of stuff. And one of the biggest sort of mental techniques that I've walked them through is being prepared to simply get a lot of bad beats, coolers, setups, etc. before you even sit down to play poker. You know, if you're already, I mean, you can literally say, I'm going to take 10 bad beats this session, and I'm going to be okay with that. Like, this is a way to, I think, mentally train your brain to not be shocked when it happens in the moment. Understand what you signed up for in poker. When you sit down at the poker table, you're going to play a hand of poker against another human being, and like I said before, there's almost zero chance that they're going to have 0% equity in the hand. Doesn't matter what hand they have, they're almost always going to have some card on the river that is going to be able to beat your hand, even if you've got pocket aces or pocket kings. And we really need to be prepared for this and to accept this. Also, not get what I call married to these big hands like this. Pocket aces, pocket kings are the biggest ones that I've found with, especially with my clients in the past, that they have the biggest problem with. And that is because they feel almost like they have like a license to print money with these hands, that, you know, they waited patiently. And I think you only get pocket aces like 1 out of 220 hands or something like that. They've waited so long for their big hands, and wouldn't you know it, the bad player calls with their 3-5 offsuit again and hits their lucky extra 3 on the river and beats their pocket aces again. And this is really the point that sets a lot of people off on tilt, that sends them, you know, the crazy rants that we see on the internet of my pocket aces got crapped 15 times in a row. And I really think that this comes down to, once again, a sense of poker's supposed to be fair. You know, I'm supposed to be able to print money when I get these hands. Unfortunately, guys, it's just not the way it works, and I really think that's why it's important to be prepared for that before we even sit down. Just because everybody loves getting dealt their pocket aces or their pocket kings or their ace king, but even these hands are going to lose sometimes. You do not have a license to print money just because you get dealt a really good hand, or just because you flop a straight or you flop a flush. Those hands are not unbeatable unless you literally flop a royal flush, and we all know how often that's going to happen. You are going to lose sometimes, and sometimes it's going to happen again and again and again in a short period of time. You know, if you ever want to do a sort of thought experiment, I've actually done this before, and I hope you're really bored if you want to do this, is just sit down and take a quarter or a coin, whatever, and just start flipping it. Coins, quarters, in at least in Canada and America, it's like heads or tails, right? And, you know, just write down, you know, how many times in a row it comes heads, tails, or whatever. And we all know this is a 50-50% chance of either, right? And I've done this before. I've sat down, I've literally flipped a coin 500 times in a row, and I had stretches in that time where I got tails, you know, 8 times in a row, or heads 7 times in a row, and that doesn't seem rational. That doesn't seem logical, but you can see it right in front of your eyes. I think this is a really good thought experiment for a lot of poker players, because it really shows you the power of what we call variance, and understanding that we talked about before that people are going to have, say, 15% equity, 15% chance to win the pot. You know, that can happen multiple times in a row. It's not exactly beyond the realms of mathematics. It's going to happen. Sometimes it's going to happen 3 times in a row, 5 times in a row, 10 times in a row. Play enough hands of poker and you will see more crazy stuff. That's basically what I always talk about. I played 10 million hands of poker. I've seen stuff that does not seem even remotely possible. It seems like this is completely rigged. But if you understand math and statistics, even on a basic level, you don't have to study at a college level or anything, you will understand that as you increase the sample size, you're going to see more statistical anomalies that are going to happen within that sample that are going to be weirder and weirder, and you're going to swear it's all rigged and you get more bad beats than everyone. But guys, honestly, it just boils down to math at the end of the day. Why do you get so many bad beats in poker? Well, it's because it's actually a good thing. It means you're playing in games with a lot of bad poker players, which is how we make the money in this game. And how do you fix it? Well, you fix it by going and playing against a bunch of world-class professionals. But guess what? You're not going to win in poker by playing against players like that who don't make these large fundamental mistakes. We make the money in poker versus the bad players who play all the bad hands, who chase all the draws, who call you down with their bottom pair. And while I know it can be frustrating sometimes when they're going to hit their miracle card against you, you know, the math will sort itself out in the end, and this is how we make the real money in this game. Make sure you let me know if you're getting too many bad beats in the comments below, and have you found any way to make bad beats go away? And also, if you want to see more poker videos like this, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and also shove all in on that like button below if you found this video helpful. Lastly, I would recommend for you guys who play small stakes poker in particular to check out my free poker cheat sheet. I'll leave a link to that in the description below. That'll give you a step-by-step guide on really the strategies that I recommend to beat the lower.
What else are we gonna watch in the background here?
Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds, owner of Mint Mobile. With a holiday offer, I think that you're gonna like. When you switch to Mint now, you'll get 3 months of
What's up guys, Nathan here, and today I'm going to teach you an advanced bluffing strategy that is going to skyrocket your results at the poker table. So I have a lot of hands that I put out on this YouTube channel before on, you know, how to play big hands like pocket aces, ace king. You know, I've got 100 videos back there. You can check them all out. But people are often telling me, hey, show me some hands where you don't have a strong hand. How are you winning with bluffs and taking the pot away when you don't have pocket aces, when you don't hit your flush, all that kind of stuff. So that's exactly what I'm going to show you. I'm going to teach you today an advanced bluffing strategy. As you can see here, we have a very mediocre kind of hand, nothing fancy or anything. A jack queen offsuit on the button in a small to mid stakes cash game online, and I'm gonna show you how to win a big pot with this hand by bluffing. We're not gonna have anything. We're going to learn how to take a pot away from another person at the poker table, which is how you get ahead in this game. So if you guys are ready for it, let's jump in. All right, so as mentioned, we are playing a 50-cent $1 cash game online here. That's a $100 maximum buy-in. And as I always mention in these videos, in my books, on my blog, all that is poker is a game played between people. And the way we get ahead is by playing against recreational players, players who play considerably worse than us. So we always want to make sure that there is at least one of these players at the table at any time that we're playing, and hopefully you guys have already spotted that player. That's going to be seat number 4. Now, the reason why some of you might have been able to spot it already is because this player does not have a full stack. This player, seat number 4, is sitting on $92.50, which is below the maximum buy-in of $100. Now, it might seem like a little thing to some of you guys that are watching this, but this is actually one of the most accurate tells that I've ever been able to find for how to spot a recreational player online, because literally every single online poker site has an auto top-up feature which allows you to just automatically top up your stack to 100 big blinds after every single hand. and any kind of serious poker player already has this enabled. It's really only the recreational players who just dabble in this game, and they're like, oh, I'll just play a 70 big blind stack this hand, and a 30 big blind stack the next hand, which require all sorts of different strategies. And I'm not going to go deep into that in this video, but suffice it to say that serious poker players almost invariably use the auto top-up feature when they're playing online poker. So right away, that's already a dead tell. It's probably a recreational player. Dead tell number 2 is going to happen right now. He's going to limp into the pot. As I've mentioned many times before as well in these videos, my books, everything. When you see somebody limp into the pot, especially first into the pot like this these days, that is almost always take it, bet the farm that is a recreational player. And the reason why is because good poker players know that having the aggression, having the pre-flop and post-flop betting lead is simply a mathematically, statistically proven way to win more in poker. I actually lay out the evidence in my first book, Crushing the Micro Stakes. I show you exact data from my own Poker Tracker database about how I'm winning far more when I raise pre-flop compared to limping, and how I realized this early on in my poker career. But basically all other strong players have realized this at this point as well. So there is strike number 2. And the final strike to guarantee that seat number 4 is a recreational poker player is the HUD data, of course. Let me jump into that. This player is playing a 55-28-3. VPIP, PFR, and aggression factor. Once again, those are HUD stats. They're numbers that you can get on your screen in online poker that basically give you, they're based on hands that you've already played against these players. And it gives you an idea of the player type. And if you want to get this information on your online poker table, I will include links to the HUD that I use in the description below. But basically, when I see a player with stats like that, it's not even a question. Recreational player. All right, so let's continue on with the hand here. So seat number 5 and 6 get out of the way. So what should we be doing in a spot like this? Well, for you longtime watchers of the channel here, you guys know that I heavily lean towards exploitative play versus recreational players or anyone who limps, basically. I'm going to be raising here 100% of the time with any kind of playable hand on the button here. So once again, we got Jack Queen offsuit, so we're going to raise it up. Clearly playable hand. We want to be isolating seat number 4 here, the recreational player. We're going to have the advantage of getting to act last on the flop, turn, and river. Once again, a mathematically massive, proven statistical edge in this game. So this is an absolute no-brainer spot to raise it up. Both of the blinds get out of the way and is back on seat number 4. Recreational players don't fold, of course, so he's going to make the call, and we're going to go see a flop. All right, so the flop comes pretty good for us. Not the most amazing flop on earth, but we do have the gut shot to the nuts here. And that is really, really important when you guys are learning how to read boards correctly. We actually have the nut straight draw in a spot like this, whereas if a 9 were to drop on the turn or river, we're going to have the absolute nut straight. And this is a classic spot where especially a weaker recreational player who might have a jack in his hand here, if that 9 drops, there's a very good chance he's losing all his money. Actually, there's really 100% chance. And that is because recreational players do not fold straights, they don't fold full houses, they don't fold a whole lot. So this is a brilliant spot because that 9 card could potentially be an absolute game changer. We get his whole stack. We also have 2 overcards, of course. We could be good if a jack or queen comes. And we also have a backdoor straight flush in our back pocket with the jack of spades if we need it. So there's a lot of different possibilities on this board. This is definitely a reasonable flop for us. Let's see what seat number 4 decides to do first. He does check to us. So for everything that I just explained, I talked about how we connected with this board, how we could potentially win an enormous pot depending on what cards come later, and also just the simple fact that we are in position here with the betting lead. This is going to be another slam dunk continuation bet for me here. Going to bet about half pot or so. Certainly don't need to blast it. We want to just give ourselves a cheap price here to get this player to go away. We don't expect him to fold that often on a flop like this because this is such an action heavy board. And seat 4 does in fact decide to make the call here. So what kind of hand should we be putting him on at this point? Well, considering how coordinated and wet this board is, and the fact that this player plays 55% of his hands, it's going to be an enormous amount of different hands. This player could have a ton of different straight draws, gut shot straight draws, flush draws, top pair, middle pair, bottom pair, all sorts of various combinations. This recreational players love to chase bad straights, so he'll be in there with his 6-5, for example, looking to get stacked once again if the 9 comes. So an incredibly wide range. We expect him to continue with any 9, like a king 9, a queen 9, an ace 9. So we're not particularly surprised that this player called here, but we still think that there's many ways for us to win this pot on later streets here. So let's go see a turn. All right, so the turn comes with the 8 of hearts. Now this is kind of an interesting card because it tosses up even more draws on the board there. If this player had backdoor hearts, for example, they've now got the 4 flush, and it basically just leaves all of the draws that I talked about on the flop still on the table, all the flush draws, all the straight draws. He's still got a top pair. He's probably happier with his top pair at this point. So let's see what seat number 4 does first. He does indeed decide to check. Now we kind of have a decision to make here. So once again, I don't think we're going to be able to get this player to fold all that often on the turn here. But as you guys know by the title of this video, I'm not playing this hand to give up if I don't hit my card. That's really the entire point about bluffing in poker, and we're going to talk about that more on the river. We win big in poker by using aggression and forcing players to fold worse hands, and sometimes it doesn't feel like there's a whole lot of hands he's going to throw away here. But there definitely are some hands in his range. If he continued, for instance, with a pocket 4s or some sort of, ace 3, random crazy stuff, we're definitely going to get hands like that to throw their hand away. So we're going to continue betting at this point here. Again, we're also continuing to bet with the intention of potentially triple barreling on the river, making the big bluffs. Now, once again, we're only betting a little over half pot at this point to give ourselves a cheap price to make this player go away, and we're also applying a lot of pressure at this point. I definitely think he's going to throw away a 7 as well. I think that he might even decide to throw away a 6-5, like a really bad draw like that. But in this case, seat number 4 is going to make the call, so what can we put him on at this point? Well, honestly, I don't think his range really has gotten a whole lot more narrow at this point like it does versus a regular kind of player. I think that he's still on a lot of different draws. This is typically how recreational players play, so it really doesn't faze me a whole lot when we get called on the turn here. I knew that on a board like this we're going to get called a fair amount of the time. I still like applying the pressure and just giving ourselves more chances to win. So with all that said, let's go see a river. All right, so the river comes with the proverbial brick. Absolutely everything missed. None of the flush draws got there. None of the straight draws got there. There is a very good chance that he is going to be playing the board just like us. All right, well, first off, what is the strength of our hand? Well, it's queen high. We're not going to win many pots here. I'm going to say right off the bat, when you guys are looking to make a big bluff in poker, especially on the river, this should absolutely be one of the biggest factors in your decision making is, can you win the pot unimproved? Are there worse hands here? Can he have a jack high or, a 9 high or something very often here that we beat? I think the answer is probably not very often. For example, if he had king 9 or ace 9 on this board, it is going to be an absolute tragedy if we check behind here and allow him to win this pot with king high. Remember, this is a recreational player. He can certainly have hands like this in his range. I don't expect decent regulars to be in there at this point with those kind of hands, but a recreational player absolutely can have better high card hands because players like this simply do not fold, a draw like a king 9, for example. The other thing is we have represented strength the entire way here. We're basically shouting from the mountaintops to this player that, hey, I've got aces, I've got kings, you need to get out of the way. Your hand is no good. So we absolutely have the perceived threat here of having a big hand, and even recreational players from time to time can put 2 and 2 together and throw away their Jack 10 or, you know, Ace 7 or something like that on this board. So for all of these reasons, we are absolutely going to go ahead here on the river, empty the clip. We're going to bet about half pot. We don't need to bet a massive amount. Once again, we're just looking to get a fold. And this player thought about it for a couple seconds and decided to throw his hand away and ship the $40 pot to us. And remember, guys, a $40 pot in this game is by no means inconsequential. That is 40 big blinds in this game. And if you guys are looking for the difference between the handful of elite winning players who always seem to be winning big in these games, and everybody else, all the marginal winners who are making, you know, 1 big blind per 100, 2 big blinds per 100, or perhaps -1 big blind per 100, -2 big blind per 100, this is the difference, is these pots right here, these kind of middle of the road pots. These are a lot of the pots that I talk about in my poker books and on my blog as well. This is the real bread and butter of winning poker. This is where the proverbial rubber meets the roads, when you can learn to take away pots like this when you likely did not have the best hand. I mean, it's pretty unlikely we had the best hand if we had checked behind on the river. If you can learn to take more of these smaller pots away, you're going to have a lot more success in poker, and that's because pocket aces and flushes and all sorts of big hands, as you guys know, they don't come around very often in poker. So I hope that this sort of advanced, semi-advanced bluffing strategy really helped you guys understand how I go about winning more pots without showdown, especially against the weaker players like this, by understanding, number one, when I cannot win the pot on the river. I'm definitely going to be more inclined to bet in that situation, and also just understanding my perceived range. What is this player putting me on? What likely hand range is my opponent on? And making the decision sometimes to make a triple barrel bluff or some sort of other variation of a bluffing strategy in these games, like a turn check raise, for example, in order to force my opponent to fold a better hand. So anyways, guys, that's all I got for this one. But as always, I want to know what you guys think. So let me know your thoughts on bluffing strategy in the comments below. Do you make sort of tricky, advanced poker bluffs like this in your games? Or are you more one of those just straight and narrow kind of players? You just bet when you got your aces and your kings and
betting DFS tomorrow. I want to see what's going on. Some advice on this.
Experience the magic of 5-star Casper Sleep with up to 20% off during our Black Friday sale, in-store or at Casper.com.
Hey guys, how's it going? It's Al. Week 11 on DraftKings kicks off
All right, a little bit here. Get a piece of that.
tomorrow morning. We're going to record this video. We record it every Friday live on Twitch. Come on over to the Twitch stream. I'd love to see you over there. I can get to know you. I stream like 2-3 hours a day, 5 days a week, and then a 6th day on Sunday right before lock. So if you want to show up tomorrow for the Anti-Tinkercast, the 45 minutes right before kickoff, we'll be live taking questions all the way up until kickoff. But in the case of this video right here, we're going to take a look for Week 11 NFL DFS, 5 players that project to be under 5% played. And whoo, baby, I got a whole list of 5 for you this week that are just star-studded, not unlike last week. I don't know what the correct hit rate is for something like this. These players are under 5% for a reason. Mostly salary. A lot of the time it's where there's value that's attracting people elsewhere, and because of opportunity costs, they get squeezed out of lineups. But if you wanted to leverage those lineups that you have in large field GPPs or smaller field GPPs, when you include these players in your primary stack or as a part of a secondary stack, or hell, even as a one-off, it gets you different. And as we've said before, in a large field tournament, I like to stay at under 130% cumulative projected percentage. It's never about that one player. So like a guy like AJ Dillon, who this week is projecting for like 35 to 40% in the Millionaire Maker, you can still include him in a Millionaire Maker lineup. You just have to get different somewhere else. Essentially, you would have like 90 percentage points to play with for the rest of your lineup. So when you're building your lineups, whether by hand or using a lineup builder, that in mind, that you don't always have to fade a guy just because a lot of the players in the field are going to be on him. You just have to make your lineups different at other places as opposed to getting off of the main guy. So thank you guys for watching the video. If you're new to the channel, drop a like, subscribe to the channel. About 45% of the people who watch the content on this channel are not subscribed. I will just say it helps us a lot. It helps the channel a ton if you do click that subscribe button and if you ring that notifications bell in ways that maybe you don't understand. It costs you absolutely nothing. We're less than 1,500 away from 50,000. When we get there, I'm going to do some sort of giveaway to celebrate it. So jump on in here, click that button, leave me a reply down below, and let's get to the 5 under 5 this week. Let's go!
He's a legend.
The Smiz Gang Listener League DraftKings made it bigger for week 11 because you guys have been doing a fantastic job of filling it up. $10 entry fee, 3 max, absolutely no rake, no service charge. Most of the $10 tournaments on DraftKings have like a 12 to a 15% rake service charge that they charge you to run that league. This league, no rake whatsoever. All the money that comes in terms of entry fees goes out. And on the recap video that I do on the second channel, Al Smizzle Games on YouTube, I will shout out the people who come in the top 10 and break down their lineups and give them their propers and their congratulations for that. So make sure that you get into that league, smizzle.tv/league. There is a link down below in the description and probably in the pinned comment, or you could, every week, the link is the same, smizzle.tv/league. Now look, say it with me, okay? Smizzle.tv/league. That's how you get into the listener league every single week. Our first player in the 5 under 5. Last week it was Christian McCaffrey. This week it's Jonathan Taylor. People just don't want to pay up for him this week because of the other value that's out there at running back. Like everybody's going to go for the $6,200 Dillon. If they pay up, it's probably going to be for Christian McCaffrey. So you're getting at $8,300. People are like, you know, I'm just going to pay for Christian McCaffrey. There's opportunity cost. There's probably 8 or 9 running backs between 7,000 and 5,000 that people are going to look to for value, and some guys that are like a little under 5,000 that they could look to as well. And that's kind of squeezing out Jonathan Taylor and a few other running backs. Now, like if we go over to Fantasy Labs and look at his fantasy points scored over his expectation, this is a ridiculous graph. He is basically beaten his expectation a lot. Not since September has he missed his exceeding his fantasy point projection with actual on-field scoring. So Jonathan Taylor is going to lead it off for us right here this week. As I said, look, if you look at running back, people are going to click on McCaffrey. They're not going to click Taylor. They're not going to click Cook. They're going to look down in this range for value, and it's leaving some of those more expensive guys a lot lower than you would think their projection on percentage is going to be, which leads us to Joe Mixon. Not only is he projected for under 5%, right now I have him at a projection of about 2.7% on average between all the sites that we're partnered with here on this channel. And he makes for great leverage over what I believe is going to be a heavy dose in tournaments of T. Higgins as a standalone or a part of a secondary stack. Jamar Chase, people trying to leverage off of him. I think that Burrow stacks are going to be very much in vogue this week. And so if you want to get away from all of that traffic,
try a little more focus now. We've been distracted by a bunch of things. So just a little more focus on these tournaments as we get later into them. This one's got a lot of time left. 12, 15. Oh my god, it's got hours left. Ricky Dink little 12-cent tournament, which if that was our last 12 cents would be a lot to us, but since we just made $3.50 for this 12 cents matter. Might just punt it off and take a break here. I don't know. I think we already did pretty good enough as it is. Definitely want to finish up this turbo. So close to the money. I don't care about these other little tournaments anymore. Too much work for now that we got more money. It's worth the work if you're broke, but we're not as broke as we were before, so I don't care about 12 cents anymore. And come in here, see flop for free. Did none of it. Yeah, this one gonna be over soon anyway. We're so short stacked and the blinds are getting so big. This one, last level. I might be interested. This one's worth some money. 27. This little 27 cents. Pretty good first place. Now we got a combo draw. Yeah. Put something in there. See if it goes away. So, yeah, chips to really get too interested. We'll rep a 4 there. He just got me. And we miss everything. I just checked and so he's gonna get this. We want to save these chips for a better spot. It's gonna be hard enough. Dump it off here. Save these chips. Maybe somebody else will dump. So maybe I'll start busting. Let's see. Okay, so now we're getting down to 85 to the money. This one's getting interesting because this one is a decent first place, I believe. $24 off a 27-cent entry. You make 24 bucks. That 55-cent one, first place is only like, yeah, first place is only $6 bucks for the 10-cent. We're not gonna go to first place now. Anyway. Not gonna first place, but well, I had come first place on 27-cent before, so it's not impossible. But, yeah. It's questionable. So much money up there. I'll see if we get super duper lucky. Not, we can afford to drop that. See, this is now where since we can rebuy, and I'm just gonna jam it because we can rebuy. And these guys, you know, oh, okay, we got a pair and a flush draw here. Play this aggressively also. So if we lose the 27 cents, who cares? We're up to just make $3 on the. Alright, let's see what happens. See if he's got a flush draw. He's got queens. Okay, so we're trying to hit a 3, 4, or a diamond. We didn't hit it. We had a ton of outs. And we're done with that one. So, good. We ran good, and then we didn't. We made a ton of outs there. So now we get two extremes. We got the Ricky Dink little one, 12 cents, and when we have chips left in the 55-cent one. I think we're getting down to the end of this session here because I don't care about 12 cents right now anymore. We've got our bankroll up to $3.5. I'm gonna let that 12-cent go. I want to wrap up this video. And, I don't want to spend next 3 hours defending 12 cents. What have we got? Oh, we have $3.5. I don't want to spend 3 hours defending 12 cents. Maybe making $6 if everything goes right. Or something else. Play more than 55-cent ones. Or something else. I don't know. Maybe play a $2 cash game. Maybe. The cash games are terrible though. I mean, the success I had here is much better than I would have had playing $2 for the cash all day long. Alright, we got ace suited. What can we do? We got any chips. This is best we're gonna get. Oh, he's all in. He still got a little back. He goes all in. He's 10. A big card. Oh, you got us. We still got some chips though. I mean, make any move these little things. For me, it never works. It's gonna 67,000 versus 73,000. We're doing okay in this tournament. There's just so much time left in it. I just don't care. 11 levels, 15 minutes. It's just too much time. If we just min cash, right, which is a normal result for me in these things, make 47 cents. I have gone deep, but to make a buck, you gotta come in 7th. Got 115 people plus a bunch more people coming in because they still got 2.5 hours to register. Hey, we got a pocket pair. So do this pocket pair. All in. Could be worse. Oh, we better hit it 2 now. This many players in. Some kind of a straight. I'm hitting on that. That one's over. So we doubled our bankroll even though we've lost 2 out of 3. These 3, what do you know? We're still alive till then. Okay, that one's over. Start us off so slow. Okay, so first step was to turn $1.50 into 3.5. Did that. We had one tournament that went great. Only 2 didn't go as we would like them to go, and then this one just goes on forever. So at this point, just to wrap this video up, I think I'm just gonna start going all in with anything. You take all the chips now. Whatever. Just you see I got 356 here, so I'm gonna turn the video off here. I'll let you know if anything interesting happens. I'm not gonna sit here and watch a 12-cent tournament for the next hours and hours and hours.